yet another edition of the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. Welcome to all of the folks that join us every single morning, make it a part of their daily routine, daily huddle, daily routine. Debbie Hammer, first in the gate. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Good morning, Mark. Playing injured today.
Playing hurt. You get this wrong every time. If you are injured, you cannot play. You are out. You are on the injured list and out. If you are hurt, then you tape your ankles and you go. And I'm a little hurt this morning, but I'm doing okay. But so a testament to not watching the scoreboard is I have no idea what episode number this is. Like a lot of podcasts or a lot of, vlogs or whatever, they kind of introduce every show with like episode number or whatever. And there are some pretty significant podcasts out there that have like only 150 episodes. Like I think we're approaching 500.
That could be a good guess. You could say 1,500. I got no idea. I just go up and do the work every day.
Shay, what do you got? You got it?
I can get an answer for you. So in the realm of the new version of the
2.0 version,
we are 538.
No shit.
538 episodes of the Nudelberg Daily Huddle, baby. I love that.
If you take in account the OG Facebook group, we're tipping way over 6. So
we're not doing that though.
Incredible.
We're strictly what's the record show is where we're at.
So June 2020 to now 538.
That's
beautiful. How about that? How about them apples?
That is a beautiful thing. But you know what? It's interesting. You were away. I started writing the shows, and Jake said, "Which show do you want me to write?" I go, "I'm in a roll. I like it. I look forward to putting together the content. Today, there's good and bad news. We get to celebrate James Caan, one of my favorite actors. We'll talk about all of his roles in TV, in movies, an icon in the business. So we'll celebrate him. Before we do that, I want to shout out our friend Lainey Jones. So I joined the board of ambassadors for the American Cancer Society. One of the reasons I did is Lainey Jones has an unbelievable story. The second half of today's show is going to be about storytelling. I am helping her tell her story to so many more people. That's my role, is to just introduce people. So if you have not had a virtual coffee with Lainey Jones, get on her calendar. It is she calls me inspiring and I laugh. I'm like, lady, come on, man. She's just incredible. She is a 5 or 6 time cancer survivor. She's amazing. Welcome to the show. Let's wake up because it is fun filled today. Let's go.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up. Come on, come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more back to thinking, time for thinking ahead. Come on now.
So a couple of shout outs before we get going. Miss Laurie Newman is in the house. Welcome, my dear. I had a blast working with your team this week. You guys are first class entrepreneurs, and it is a treat for me to work with you folks at the Closet Factory. Also, shout out to Eddie Dykes. Mark, I don't know if you saw the post he put out there, but he posted something about thanking us for the amount of coaching we've done for him, Jesse, and that was a quality post that is near and dear to our hearts. We love you, and you're an icon, just like the next gentleman we're going to talk about. So
I love that. I have one more shout out to a loyal huddler, which is Brian DePotter. We got opportunity to break bread together at Fat Boy Sushi right here in our backyard, and it was just a great lunch. I mean, the way I met Brian was through Nick Mao. I connected with Nick years ago because we were fellow Knowles, and that's leading to an opportunity for us to be able to work with his people. So, we're going to go to the Marlins game next Thursday at noon, which I haven't been to a day Marlins game in forever, but excited to spend the day with his team.
Wait. Did I lose my invite?
You did not get an invite.
That's landed with a thump. Thank you very much.
I would bet that after Brian listens to the show this morning that there would be an invite coming for you as well. But just great stuff. So shout out to Brian. Thanks for listening every day. Thanks for great lunch yesterday, and looking forward to finding ways to work together.
Shay, do we have a problem with LinkedIn? Is LinkedIn going good, or is it just me?
Shay's on mute, but it would appear.
As far as I know, it's good. Sorry.
Okay. I wasn't getting it, but that doesn't mean anything. So let's get into James Caan. James Caan, I think, holds a place in everybody's heart. There's something that he's done in his career that, he's done so many movies. He's won awards, Golden Globes, Emmys, Oscars, going way back. The first movie that I remember James Caan in was something that was like, I remember the badge of honor was, did you cry at Brian's song? Show me Brian's song.
This is a story about two men. They competed for the same job. One was white, the other black. One liked to talk a lot.
You said, uh-huh.
The other was shy as a 3-year-old.
Hey, rookies got to stick together.
Our story is about how they came to know each other, fight each other,
I'm going to whip you, Sayers. But you got to be at your best.
and help each other.
I think I owe you a beer.
I owe you a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So I get choked up watching the fucking.
I hear the music, I'm crying, man. It's so unbelievable. Look at Casey, you goddamn right.
Yeah, I get choked up. So what was cool for me though is that movie was old, right? And I was a young kid.
Whoa. What do you mean old? 1971.
Right, it's before I was born. What do you mean? It was 15 years before I was born. So for me, that movie's old. And I played ball at Brian Piccolo Park. Even in high school, so I played baseball at Brian Piccolo Park, played football at Brian Piccolo Park. When I was in high school, we had our two-a-days at Brian Piccolo Park. And if it's not for that movie and you making me watch that movie, I'm playing at Brian Piccolo Park and have no idea who Brian Piccolo is.
So Brian Piccolo played high school football in Fort Lauderdale, went to Wake Forest. Yep. And what an amazing, amazing story. That's why his name is on a field. But that story, I never looked at Gale Sayers the same again either.
Right.
So unbelievable. That was 1971. 1972, probably the role of his career, and something we always remember is Sonny Corleone.
Hey, what are you going to do? Nice college boy, huh? They want to get mixed up in the family business? Huh? Now you want to gun down a police captain, why? Because he slapped you in the face a little bit? Huh? What do you think, this is the army where you shoot him a mile away? You got to get up close like this, and bada bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit. Come here. Mwah.
Bada bing.
The best. I mean, the biggest takeaway from that character, though, was you got to keep your emotions in check.
Well, that scene, and I wrote about this in the book. I wrote a book. The takeaway was that he jumps into a conversation with his emotion, and his dad said,
never let anybody outside know it.
Excuse me, I've spoiled my kids. When the guy leaves, he goes, don't you ever let anybody outside of the family know what you're thinking. Yeah. That line was like such a powerhouse to me, because I take it to business. If you have people in your organization talking shit about your organization on the outside, you should do what they do in The Godfather. Gone. Sleep with the fishes, man.
And so, and I'd just look at his character as a whole, and it was just Sonny's MO to want to go to war. Everything was war. Everything was adversarial. Right. I need a wartime consigliere, and that mentality was not what was, needed at that time. And so just understanding that Michael was much more calculated and much more thoughtful, and Sonny was this emotional driven decision maker, and obviously that didn't end up well for Sonny.
I mean, here's the crazy thing. What a great role for a Jewish kid from the Bronx.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Shows you how close Jews and Italians are. But he also had a lighter side. He did a lot of fun stuff. This is him in the movie Elf.
I don't need those. Oh. Gotta really hurry up, Walter, because I'm double booked the rest of the afternoon.
You're my sick?
Yeah, but that's not what we're here. We're here to do a test. Come on.
What kind of test?
Just a test to find out if you're my son or not.
Why am I sitting on paper?
Because it's sanitary for the other patients. Now sit still so I can do the finger prick.
Finger prick. Oh, it's cold.
Yeah, just please sit still, please.
Okay, can I listen to your necklace?
No, you can't. Can you just sit still?
Why is there a skeleton?
I don't know. What, Walter, could you
swim,
please,
like a pirate
could you
flag.
please have him sit
Does he
still
have
so
a
I can
name?
do this?
No, he hasn't got a name. I'm sorry,
Ben.
Ben.
I'm sorry. Would you
waiting.
please sit still, please?
He got mad at me.
Yes, he did. The sooner you sit still, the sooner we can get this mess over.
Okay, then can we eat sugar plums?
You betcha. We'll eat sugar plums and gingerbread houses, and we'll even paint eggs.
Well, paint eggs. That's easier. Oh, my finger has a heartbeat.
Now, so what the reason why I played that scene is in order to play straight when
Will Ferrell's going off.
Will Ferrell just says something and I crack up laughing. So.
First of all, that scene, the three of those guys, and you got Jon Favreau, you got Will Ferrell, and you got James Caan in the same scene. Like that's an iconic just set. Right there.
Jon Favreau is actually the director of that movie.
Sure.
So, which he went on to do much more in the directing side of things. So, real tribute, lots of great movies.
Hold on, you have to mention maybe the best movie of all of them.
Would be Misery?
The Program. What?
What's the program?
What do you mean, what's the program? Alvin Mack and ESU? Like everybody was.
Yeah, and Joe Burrow makes a cameo in the movie.
Right. I mean, the fact that you're like, what's the program? With Latimer so he's the head coach of a college program that has like a quarterback that's like an alcoholic, has Alvin Mack, who's going to be this all-time great linebacker, has this DN, this white guy, Latimer, who's like and it's so everybody pictured that as, oh, that was FSU's program. It was all these dirty things going on behind the scenes, but it was ESU in the movie, and he was the head coach. It's great.
So,
plays at the table. Casey Delapenna says it. Casey plays at the table. Right.
I'm with Devin. Misery
was fantastic.
Misery was fantastic. So this guy has a portfolio of stuff. Rollerball,
right? You're going way back now. Way
back when, if you ask Jake about roller derby, he's like, "What are you talking about? Is that something to do with horses rolling around?" Right. So anyway, big tribute to him. It's unfortunate that at this stage of my life, the icons like that are starting to pass. 82, full life. Left a great legacy. His son Scott is in a bunch of stuff. I love him in all of the. Oh, there he is! Wow,
there it is. There's the program, baby.
I remember that. Wow. Thank you, Shay, for being on the ball. Yeah. Show me some motivational music, and then we're going to talk about storytelling. Which movies are storytelling? Let's get into it.
Any way you want, that's the way you need. Any way you want. She loved to laugh, she loved to sing, she loved everything. She loved to move, she loved to groove, she loved to love it. All night, every night, come on, to all night. Baby, hold that every night. Any way you want, that's the way you need. Any way you want. Any way you want, that's the way you need.
Jake asked me a question the other day. He said, is Journey one of the greatest bands ever?
Yeah.
That would be hard to argue because if you look at their song list, they can play for 3 days.
Do they get lumped into the 80s rock bands? Like, because really they're much more of a 70s rock band in style, I think. But I think a lot of their music was during the 80s, even though they weren't a hair band.
I consider them a 70s band. I would consider them an 80s band for me. And that their particular Steve Perry's voice lives way beyond.
Sure.
It just lives. Now they are on tour with a guy that sounds like Steve Perry, who's actually a Japanese guy. And when you see it, it's like,
wow,
what? Like a reincarnation of the voice. So Journey works. Anything any way you want it,
That's the way you need it.
So that you'll be singing that all day. Let's switch gears to talk about storytelling. Here's a fact. Shay, great pull from one of my presentations. I did not send you that. So let me go here. Author Nassim Taleb says, ideas come and go, stories stay. Stories stick to your brain. Stories are human communication. It's how we sync our minds up to create collective consciousness. Storytelling expert says storytelling gives color and depth to bland information and allows, I got lost here, allows for more meaningful connection. So there was one study that they did that said eBay items that have a story attached to them sell 50% more than ones that don't.
So I'm obsessed with the concept of tribalism, right? Like, I believe that if you're going to build a strong community, you should be living the word tribe. And if you go back to Native American culture and tribes, or all the way back to the start of human history, the way tribes stuck together was through storytelling. It was an event that happened at the end of every day. People came together, they sat around the fire, or they sat around the water hole, or whatever the thing was that was the center of their community, and they told stories. Everybody took turns telling stories, and those stories are what bound those people together.
So what's interesting about all of the dialogue and stuff I'm reading, because I'll take a topic, I'll go deep in the rabbit hole and come out with a course on it. Storytelling is a skill set. You can learn, just like everything else. If you don't know how, and there's a lot of people that just are not great communicators, you can learn how. There are fundamentals of it. This one article that I jumped into gave 5. One that you pulled out that I really loved was storytelling is very much like music.
Yeah, and so they talk about like when you're telling a story, and they did an amazing job of this, of writing it. So they kind of kept it in monotone where they wrote everything in a 5-word sentence. And so once you read a 5-word sentence 3 times in a row, in your brain, you created this monotone cadence that you lose interest in. And so they talk about switching the rhythm of the story, which as you tell the story and all of a sudden you have a 5-word sentence, a 2-word sentence, then you might go on for a run-on sentence, which might not be grammatically correct, but that run-on sentence really emphasizes the point that you're trying to make and drive home, hey, I got you listening and you're intrigued. Now really listen to this because I'm making a serious point here. That stuck out to me amazingly because I was like, that's something that I think I just did naturally from listening and hearing other people tell stories. But when I read it on paper and saw the difference when you write it that way, I was like, oh, wow, look at the difference in how if you write that way, the way it shows up in your brain.
So, very much like when I used to originally get on stage, I was like blasting through it. And I realized the power in the pause.
Right.
Let the audience digest, let them catch up, let their minds imagine, and then, change the tempo, change the tone, do all of that kind of stuff.
Volume.
Right. So storytelling is really packaging up what you do. One of my favorite lines is, oh, Mark, that reminds me of a story. So if you've set it up and then I related to something else that happened in my life, relatability is one of the things that is so important in storytelling, is because you can be talking about something that they're just not grasping. Then you tie it to something that they can relate. And all music starts with writing down a story. All of it. That's exactly why that tempo, and it's loud, and there's a rhythm to it that makes sense.
But so that's where I think like a virtual coffee, and like people are so like, I don't know what to do on the virtual coffee. Virtual coffees are made for storytelling. But if you just jump in and start telling your story and that has no context for that person, then it falls on deaf ears. So what you're saying about relatability is when you're doing a great job of asking questions and listening, that then allows you to pull a story from your Rolodex or back from your files that relates to something that somebody's telling. And as soon as you tell a story to somebody, you have a shared experience. And if you have a shared experience, then you started to build a relationship in a way that can grow and move on, as opposed to just telling somebody your story that didn't even ask for it.
So Eddie Dyke's always right on point. Bottle of red.
Yeah.
Bottle of white. Whatever your mood tonight. If you look at the words of all music, they're telling stories. They're creating this imagination. When he sings that verse, you can feel sitting in an Italian restaurant. You know, you just got the checkered tablecloth, the whole thing. I get chills because it's so on point.
The other part of this, though, is that like people are like, oh, well, you're just a natural storyteller. Or you just do that naturally, right? Like, no, all great storytellers have practiced telling that story over and over and over. And like that idea of practicing telling your story brings me back to Kobe, right? 4 a.m. Like the greatest people who do what they do don't practice less than everybody else. They actually practice more than everybody else. The more talented you are, the more you practice if you want to be the greatest at doing it. So like the, cop out of, oh, I'm just not good at telling stories. Bullshit. You haven't sat down to try to write your story, and then you haven't practiced it enough so that when you step on stage in front of somebody, you're able to say it.
Shay, can you give me overtime? I got one last thought I want to blast on a Friday.
And we'll go to overtime.
So this is my takeaway from all of this. High performers in any field always worship practice. Write your stories down beforehand, tinker with them, then share them with the world. An audience can't get enough of an authentic person telling stories. It's their crack.
All
you
about
guys
the
have
practice, baby.
All about the practice. Always is, always was. On when I spoke on Wednesday to the folks at Closet Factory, I started out with a story about how I got there. Yep. Jerry Latrento asked me to breakfast and said, I want you to do this for my company. And I was like, nah, I don't really want to do that. He pushed me to do it. 8 years later, look at all the changes. That's a real story that put them in a place where I was relatable. I wasn't coming down at them. I'm with them saying it can happen to anybody if you pay attention to the clues. Have a great weekend. The grind
includes Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you, sir. Let's get down to business.
Let's get down.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night.